Greetings, everyone. We're broadcasting outdoors in an area called the Tidal Basin, and this is what I call our cherry blossom edition. So if you look behind me, there's a great example of the cherry blossoms in bloom. I'm going to give you guys a slow pan. Kind of what things look like. So this area is called the Tidal Basin in the Washington D.C. area, kind of an area between Washington and the Potomac River. And so as you can see, we have a lot of cherry trees. You actually don't see a lot of blooms because it's been unusually cold, but the festival is going on anyway, so hopefully we can catch some color. Also behind me, you'll notice that this is the Jefferson Memorial, and it's kind of surrounded by a bunch of these trees, and we're sort of floating with it today. So I just wanted to give you one more sort of panoramic view behind me before I jump in the car for our conversation. So greetings, everyone. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time on our channel, please take time to like and subscribe. I'm a little bit worried about my camera look there is a little bit off. But today's talk focuses on sort of two issues. The first of those issues that I wanted to cover is the fact that the Model 3's delay production is related to the fact that Toyota / all their brands is considered the best auto manufacturing entity in the world. So Elon Musk has decided that their goal is to sort of beat Toyota at their own game by using robots, etc. So what's interesting is that basically the plan that Elon Musk has had to sort of move manufacturing forward using robots and really great software kind of has not worked out. So the net of all this is that it's kind of like, I almost feel like the robots have somewhat lost. And I say this because one of the things that just happened is that there is a phenomenon going on. This is very strange that I'm not getting any of my usual European visitors on this video. And I'm trying to figure out what's happening there. I may be broadcasting to the wrong whatchamacallit, but I think I'll finish out and then see what's happening. So what I wanted to continue with is the fact that the Model 3 is delayed. The question is, why is it delayed? One of the arguments made recently by an analyst from Wall Street was that Tesla has run into some interesting roadblocks that were unexpected. In particular, the robots replacing $30 an hour employees has kind of not worked out as well as planned. And so that's slowing down the process to rapid fire production. So, Tesla isn't describing exactly what's going on, but it's clear that there's a problem. One of the solutions that Tesla came up with was, as of Good Friday, it was decided that Tesla would actually go ahead and change process and shut down the Model X and Model S line and bring those workers over to help get more Model 3s completed for the day. Now, this will help them increase their numbers, hopefully to the 200 a day that they've described. But the weird question that comes up is, if taking all your workers and shutting down the Model 3 or Model X and S line gets you enough personnel to move the numbers forward on the Model 3, well, shouldn't you just go ahead and do as many, should you not just go ahead and we have a lot of traffic here because of where we're located, and so I'm sort of backing up to see if I can let this a bus find a parking space in front of me so that he can offload a whole bunch of folks that want to do the Cherry Blossom Festival. So so basically the question that comes up is, hey, if you're taking all those people off of the production lines and moving them over to producing Model 3s, what happens when you start having to produce those Model 3s again, and you also want to produce Model X's and S's at the same time? So I kind of am suggesting that this might be a show that there's a triumph going on for manpower over machine, in this case, based on what's being done. So so we won't know the answer to this. We'll find out the number of vehicles being produced per week next week, but it's a big deal because right now Tesla is desperately in need of cash to service their debt, and the only way that they can get it efficiently is to go ahead and start selling large numbers of Model 3s. And you can't sell them if you haven't built them, so it makes sense in terms of what they're doing. The second thing I wanted to cover today is there's some follow-up information on the crash that occurred in Mountain View, California, near the Tesla manufacturing plant. The follow-up is pretty amazing, actually. The first thing is that the driver of the Model X has had numerous encounters that were not viable with the so darn, I'm looking at 0 participants right now, and I'm thinking, do you finish or not? Let's go for it. So the issue that pops up is that there's this interesting set of questions that come up. First of all, the Model X driver who crashed and died actually went ahead and spoke with Tesla and explained that there was a problem with the car at this location on a constant basis. He took the Model X in on 2 occasions, and in both cases, without driving the location, the manufacturer or the Tesla workers were unable to replicate the problem that he was having with his autopilot. So his family was kind of shocked when he died at that spot, because in fact he had taken time to return to the same spot on numerous occasions and basically found that it was a disaster. So what this brings up is the fact that, I spoke with an engineering PhD in computer science that I know, and Tesla's response to the fact that the vehicle had been brought in several times was to say, hey, we have 289 Model X and S's going by the same spot daily, many of whom are actually using their autopilot. So the question that pops up is, it should have been fine for him to use his autopilot and there should not have been a problem. So when I brought this up with a CS engineer who's a PhD that I know, he pointed out that, wait a second, everyone assumes that when you do a software download, there'll be no problems with that download. And the answer is, what if you had some outside activity that corrupted the download files relative to autopilot for that vehicle? Now it's possible that there's a one-off of a problem out there for a vehicle that nobody discovered until it was too late. So this kind of brings up the whole discussion of the fact that, we all want a car that works perfectly, but one of the challenges is that, hey, if your vehicle is having a problem or you notice there's a glitch with the autopilot, as was in this case, it's probably a good idea to step back and say, hey, there's a problem. Now, what was, thank you very much, sir. So one of the things that is a question mark is, I just think this is a learning opportunity, because it could be possible that the nature of the problem you're having with your autopilot could be different than everybody else is having. So I believe in this case Tesla's covered, because what they also stated was that the autopilot was engaged and the driver did not have their hands on the steering wheel, which is one of the new standards that Tesla has. Now, lightly resting your hands on the steering wheel allows you to catch it if anything bad happens. That totally makes sense. Kind of defeats the purpose of using the autopilot, though, in my mind. I think this family will get a nice settlement out of the deal, but obviously they won't have their loved ones still around based on what occurred. I just think that it's a cautionary note also that this gentleman brought the car in twice, and the service facility is not that far from where they're at. But because he kept highlighting the problem, it was suggested by my PhD software engineering consultant that Tesla should have actually gone out and actually driven the vehicle at the location where the problem was occurring so that they could have real-time exposure to it. Because I can't tell you how many times I've had friends end up with a problem with their car at Tesla or other manufacturers, and they go in and have repeated trips to the dealership, and the dealership can't replicate it or find the error code to replicate a problem. But it is a problem. Now, the one other thought that I had that you guys might want to consider that he did not do was, I think you should take out your smartphone and actually videotape the car making the error described. Because as you videotape the vehicle going out of control on you, you now have video evidence of the problem that you are articulating, that if they can't replicate it, regardless of the car, you now have some evidence that you can work off of, that you can present as to what it is that needs to be fixed. So I think it's a unfortunate thing that this gentleman passed away, but it really does bring up the issue that, hey, we're somewhat in a beta test until we get to a couple 100,000 cars, and having that in mind will not prompt you to overuse the technology confidently, because there may be some issues that pop up that were unexpected. A couple of the data points I wanted to cover on this accident is that the vehicle was something like 90 days old. So one of the constant themes I've had on my videos is that up until December of 2016, we were using those versions of Model X and S are using the Mobileye version or Autopilot 1. Between January of last year, January 2017, until now, we've switched to Autopilot 2 with new hardware as well as software that's produced by Tesla. Over 2017, Tesla ended up hiring and firing three different individuals to help run the sort of the vision area, namely the software related to Autopilot 2. And in the first, let's say, half of last year, many users reported it really wasn't ready. And then there have been a lot of updates to help it, finally catch up to most of the features that you have in Autopilot 1. Now, I just want to caution those of you who have newer vehicles, there's still a lot of updating that's being done. So I'd encourage you to be cautious with, kind of what's going on there, because Tesla's still working out the bugs and they're still doing updates, etc. One other thing that I wanted to sort of run through quickly is that it was announced, the press seems to be gloating right now when it comes to issues that Tesla is having, be it the accident, or there's just 130,000 Model S's and X's that were recalled. And I just thought this was interesting because all auto companies have recalls once every couple of years or so, number one. Number two, if you want to look at Tesla as a recall entity, I don't know if that makes a lot of sense. And the reason is that when you're doing software updates on a constant basis, the recalls that might normally occur are kind of happening on the fly. So I just think that this is kind of, a lot of folks are hunting for, how to help Tesla fail. And I think that, our goal in our channel is all about the fact that the difference that they make is really important, and we want to see them succeed. And I believe that the input that we all give in terms of how to improve the company will contribute to its success going forward. So again, I think it's unfortunate this person died. I think there's some good lessons to be taken away from it. In particular, if you're having a problem with your car and you see it routinely, do not expect for it to be replicated at the dealership. I would encourage you to take time to videotape and bring in the problem, because it'll expedite its repair, and they may identify something that they've never seen before that your vehicle helps them solve. So I think we're all a team on this and helping to generate a new car with our input. As far as the Model 3 manufacturing goes, you know, the analysts are suggesting that Tesla did a really sort of the whole idea of intense automation may or may not work. Usually you set up your line with people, and then you move away from those people to robots. In Tesla's case, they're going hardcore robots out the gate, and everything is obviously not working smoothly, and we're having sort of a people return by Tesla to try to get this done properly. So that's about all that I wanted to cover today in our cherry blossom episode. I hope you guys enjoyed the views that we showed outside. I jumped back in the car so we could avoid noise issues, but at least give you a flavor for what's out there. I think I'm going to close out. One of the problems with the cherry blossoms is because of how it's worked out this year. There are 2,000 trees, and the flowering is at different levels. And one of the only ones that I saw that was high quality was next to a construction site, unfortunately. But I'm gonna leave you with kind of a quick view of that again, and hope you have a wonderful day. Happy Easter, and thanks for taking time out. Look for any comments. Please take time to like and subscribe. Hit the bell icon so you don't miss anything. And we could definitely use support on Patreon if you would. $1 or $2 would be great. Thanks. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Tschüss, mach's gut. Au revoir, lehitraot, choda hafez, and walk good man, enough respect.